started out last year with some Irish post-punk, so it's only fitting I checked out this Irish garage punk band. I thought that the instrumentals were competent, and I think that the vocals are carried very well throughout the runtime, but other than some pretty enjoyable riffs and some call-out punk tracks, I really didn't see myself returning to listen to any more tracks besides maybe the 3 or 4 that I thought were somewhat admirable to a little more musically interesting.
Marathon, I really run it, say you touch me, how sway.
I don't know what it is, but I usually get on artists who usually just make the same albums every time, but 21 Savage is an oddity in that situation. On the surface, 21 Savage is a pretty normal trap rapper, but it seems like every time he drops, I think it's some of his best material every time. I think I rank this album higher than a lot of his other projects simply because the production is some of 21's best that he's ever had. The feature list is also pretty decent for their inclusions, despite there being some outliers. I'm looking at you, Doja Cat. 21 takes a more soul and jazz-infused samples and mix for American Dream, and I think that this is something that I wouldn't have found so enjoyable. But not to mention, 21 has some of his best written songs on here as well. Letter to My Brother and especially Dark Days with Mariah the Scientist being the S tier of 21 Savage's storytelling. And Mariah's feature is the cherry on the top of the cake. Very well made album. I decided to check these guys out because they're opening for Holding Absence. This Welsh rock band likes to mix a lot of post-hardcore / shoegaze type instrumentals, and I think that for shoegaze material, there's gotta be some kind of tragedy or heartbreak behind it to match the even more somewhat darker genre of music. And Casey makes a more melodic hardcore sound, similar to the band I mentioned earlier, Holding Absence, but I think How to Disappear is very admirable for its sound, and the vocals are pretty impressive at some points. For those who don't know, this is a symphonic metal supergroup formed by American musician formerly part of bands such as Alice Cooper, Epica, and Avantasia, former singer of Phantom Elite, Marina Latorica, and singer of Visions of Atlantis, Clementine Delaney. I usually have a hard time getting into symphonic or power metal for that matter, but the mix of ideas and just overall music ability is just top tier on this project. The strings in the orchestra mixed with the piano on certain songs, and then add up all 3 women's great vocal ability for some of the most angelic harmonies you'll hear, and this all just adds up to being an amazing project by 3 amazing female fronted singers. Not you. Kid Cudi is just like a name you don't have to introduce, but I will say that he has always been known for his neo-psychedelic hip-hop ever since back in the mid-2000s, which makes me happy to say that Kid Cudi still doesn't miss, besides with, you know. Speeding Bullet, this is not. I actually ranked Kid Cudi's soundtrack for Intergalactic in my best albums list for 2022, and I feel like INSANO is Kid Cudi being more of his original self. And after all the bullshit he's been through in the past couple years, it's great to see he still innovates on his original sound that just seems to continuously get even better, with so many tracks having the same psychedelic feels, but different vibes for all the songs. Probably the big 2 comparisons is the hype-ass track known as Too Damn High with Lil Yachty, and then X and Cud, even though the beat is just a simple remix of Orlando by XXXTentacion. This album is pretty unoriginal, just really unoriginal alternative indie music with some comparable to karaoke singing. It definitely doesn't sound too professional, and even with bands such as Early Neck Deep where Ben's vocals were, let's admit, grating at some points, but at least the emotion was there. Ecstasy literally has the same emotion throughout the project, and that's bored. Very happy I discovered this artist. ERicDoa needs to have some more exposure because this man is so fucking talented. Eric likes to mix sounds of hyperpop, trap, emo rap, and sometimes even funk, because goddamn some of the songs are pretty fucking funky. Kickstand is an earworm and a half just for that chorus. Last June has a lot of hyperpop sounds throughout. Pay Stub is an emo rap song similar to artists like Juice WRLD or Kid Laroi. My point is for this album is that this man is just so diverse and musically talented. I'm just surprised Green Day wasn't promoting this guy's album instead of Ecstasy. On January 11th, I went to the Soundgarden, which is a record store here in Baltimore, and they are known for having a lot of listening parties for albums that haven't been released yet. Respectfully, I went there for the Saviors album, and I remember my friends asking me what I thought, and I gave it a good 6 or 7 for my first listen. This album is everything that I was hoping for a new Green Day release, because it's not Father of All. Jokes aside, this album is just genuine Green Day at their best, and I just can't believe that Billy Joe can still hit these notes at his age, especially the scream at the end of the Living in the 20s.
I be walking around the town, talking what I'm about, walking all around, drawing all the crowds, garnering the cloud, calling all them out, following devout.
Jesus, I knew everyone hated this album, but holy fucking shit, this album is one of the worst things I've heard this decade. Lil Dicky continues to drop his unfunny lines while still showing his rap ability, which I always think has been severely wasted since his career has started. I can defend a few of his songs, and especially a lot of his freestyles. Molly has a nice story, and Brendan Urie's feature was cool. Professional Rapper with Snoop Dogg is somewhat entertaining, but I can't defend any fucking songs on this PENITH shit of an album. Also, I feel offended because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is literally his freestyle on Sway in the Morning with worse lines, which kinda just destroys that freestyle's legacy in my eyes. Lil Dicky also has no plans of stopping music, so I guess we're gonna hear more horse shit shoved into our ears into the future. Neck Deep is probably one of my favorite pop-punk bands ever, and after the somewhat lukewarm to negative reception of All Distortions Are Intentional, I can definitely say that Neck Deep has more than redeemed themselves for this amazing pop-punk record. Neck Deep's energy that was so prevalent on Piece of the Panic and Life's Not Out to Get You is back, and also this album takes a more uplifting approach to their music, as Neck Deep has always been able to transition to high-energy pop-punk like Dumbstruck, Dumbfuck, Heartbreak of the Century, We Need More Bricks. This is just a personal preference, but Neck Deep, can we please get more original acoustic songs like December or 1970 something for the next project? Thank you. I thought that this is probably my favorite album of 2024 so far.
I'm from the jungle where niggas count war wounds as accolades. Weed legal, I got a greenhouse growing pack.
I really feel the same thing about 21 Savage as I do with Benny the Butcher. Benny has always been known for his conscious hip-hop and trap style influence with some of the best lyricism of any, quote, underground mainstream rapper. Griselda is always dropping amazing projects, and this is just another great album from Benny the Butcher, and I think if he continues this trajectory, he's definitely going to be one of the potential GOATs in the rap game. A newer Swedish metalcore band that I really have drawn to after listening to The Affliction, they are what Octane needs on their stations, because Dead by April are a very diverse and entertaining band. They have the softer songs for the people who like Archetypes Collide or Light the Torch, but then they have pretty harsh metalcore tracks that slam pretty fucking hard. Bands I can compare to is maybe Landmarks or Our Last Night, as the vocals have great soaring highs and the screams are pretty good as well, and I really hope to catch these guys on tour this year. This artist's evolution I've seen over maybe a span of 2 years when I first started liking her music after hearing her open for Youngblood, and she had just dropped her debut album, and I was obsessed with that 7-track project for a while. This album is such a great improvement from the last album. Charlotte's multiple collabs with artists like The Maine, Taking Back Sunday, Mod Sun to name a few, has significantly helped her figure out a signature sound. Her vocals, my god, her vocals went from like a 6 because I always thought she had great vocal chops, and it ramps it up to like a 9. Just great notes being hit, so much emotion behind the tracks, very personal songwriting, and I just can't wait to see her again soon.
I'm treading water, trying not to drown.